I was doing is, back in my, what was it, maybe 29, let's say. 29, I was living a different lifestyle. So I fell into a deep sort of depression. Yeah, I was palming, you know, I was doing that. I was using drugs, you know, so I was just heading nowhere good, you know. So then when I went to London, it's like basically my sister. My sister went, I want you to do a course in London. It's like they were trying, my family was trying to.
All right.
Like, in now looking back in hindsight, they were trying to like help me out.
They were almost dragging you out of whatever you needed. Yeah.
They were trying to help me out, you know what I mean? Like in different ways, I think, you know what I mean? Because, and then she goes, I want you to do this acting course, you know? Because she was a model, sister was a model, then she done acting.
And that's what I want to say, because your sister's a well-known model as well, and she'll have a lot of connections within the industry and things like that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's right. She said like, you know, I want you to, you know, go and do this.
Paj, what do you like reading, bro? What are you into?
At the moment, I'm just reading, Trotsky.
Okay.
Trotsky, he was a political revolutionary from Russia.
All right.
And he basically predicted everything. The main thing of him was he analysed the economy. So analysed the economy after the Russian Revolution and where it was going to go. And he said the path with Stalin that overtook the revolution, said this is going to end up in a disaster. And eventually, he goes, the Russia will rejoin capitalism. In 91, that's exactly what happened. He warned us, he said in 1934, he said there's a big crisis facing the European Jewry. In 1934, he said Jewish people.
Okay,
if Hitler comes to power, if he's left in power.
Okay.
You know what? This is already in 1934.
He was
so
mentioning
this is just when he came into power.
Okay.
He warned all the socialists. He said you have to band together, and you have to band together before this guy comes to power, you know? And what happened in the end, concentration camp happened, you know? He also said before World War II, he said he died 1904, just before, he was assassinated by Stalin in Mexico. He got hacked.
In Mexico?
In Mexico, he got hacked because he was on the run, yeah.
Okay.
People were always trying to get him everywhere because he was so
he was
revolutionary.
Powerful, yeah.
Powerful, man. You know, people listened to him. And then he said on the eve, he said, we are facing a global catastrophe before the World War II started, you know? He said, if things are not left. And it's unbelievable, man. And then he also said, 1930, he goes, the problem with Germany, this is the crazy quote, which applies to now. He goes, the problem with Germany is, he goes, they're trying to reorganize Europe. He goes, whereas the United States will one day try to reorganize the world.
Wow, brother, how deep is that, Paj? How deep is that? And we didn't take heed, bro.
Yeah,
we did not take heed.
Right, and then, he was one of the greatest revolutionaries of the 20th century that people don't even know about, you know, because his name was so tarnished within the left community, because they're so scared of, you know, because he's proper revolutionary, he calls for revolution, you know, that's it, you know, so they're all these fake left, they want to do all these other things apart from actually going towards revolution, you know.
And you know what I mean, and that's one thing that I do want to go into, Paj, the fake left, bruv, you know what I mean, because they're extremely strong today, but I do feel like they're just an extension of the establishment, bruv, you know what I mean, just to cushion and soften that angry, radical people.
Absolutely. Get them behind labour unions. That's their main thing. Get them behind labour unions, and bitch unions have sold out the working class people for a long time. You know what I mean? Like they had once upon a time they had a progressive role, but then over the decades that role has just become worse and worse and worse. You know, and then they sort of get this. You know, they represent the upper middle class layer, or they without even knowing it. Sometimes, you know, they think. They represent the people that without even knowing it, they're advancing the interests of this upper middle class layer who wants a bigger share of the pie.
Yes.
You know, we want to be part of the billionaires. So there's one of the statistics, what I looked into it is like, I don't know, 26% of women are billionaires, you know what I mean? So through that sort of movement, like, you know, through using that movement, they want to get more numbers up there, you know, more billionaires. So their whole point is, let's put this candidate, you know, because they're a woman, they'll be better off. Like Hillary Clinton will be the worst president you'll ever have, but just because she's a woman, it's like, that's progressive, you know what I mean? Right now you have a fascistic, what's her name? I forgot her name, but in England, you know, she's a fascist. You know what I mean? like, but she's because she's a woman, seen as progressive, you know, but it's not. Like, we've got to stop looking into these identity politics.
as we were talking earlier, the Obama effect, whereas, it's a woman before it's a black dude, you know what I mean? It's like, hey, what can we do to make these people bend to our will? Let's get someone that looks like them to try to push that. So it's a crazy one, Paj, bro. It is wild, man. It's a wild situation. It's a wild situation, man.
That's right. Or you have this, you know, the effect of like Trump or these fascist leaders who are coming into power. And they're becoming popular because they're sort of, people think, oh, they're saying the truth at least, at least they're going against the establishment, they're saying that the media lies and stuff like that, which they do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he's not the answer, because look what he's doing to the Mexicans. This guy's building a wall. He's taking in Mexican kids and locking them up in these prisons by sending their parents away. So,
yeah, I hear that as well, man.
So he's not the answer.
No, he's not.
For me, the answer is not in the party system. No party, Labour, Liberal, Democrats, Republican, fucking whatever they have in England, all the other two-party systems. I hate them all.
Yeah.
I think they're not they're all parties of the rich. They represent the interests of the rich. They don't represent the interests of the working class people in every country.
That's a fact, man. That's a fact. I mean, growing up in the area that we grew up in, we understand that, and we get to see it firsthand, right? We get to see that firsthand, man. We get to see the police coming in and doing what they need to do for the establishment and things like that. Like, we've been through all of that.
Absolutely. So that's a perfect example. Let's say during the corona.
Yeah.
Flemington Flats sectioned off.
Yep.
Why weren't the houses opposite sectioned off?
The private buildings right across.
Flemington's a rich area. You have the housing commission flats there. How come that's the only place they get sectioned off? I'm watching it. They treat them badly. They give them crap food.
Yep.
They're not letting them come outside. It was a very brutal way of doing it. Would they been able to get away doing that a few houses down?
Nah, absolutely not. And like you said, right across the road, right across from Racecourse Road, they had those private buildings, and they were freely able to go up and down. And I was a part of that effort, Pudge, pushing through the police lines, trying to get the food up there. You know what I mean? It was a tough situation, man. It was a tough situation at hand. You got people that were suffering mental breakdowns up in those buildings. You had elderly people who weren't getting their medicine and this and that. You know what I mean? And it was a tough situation, man. But guess what, Pudge? It was the elements, the so-called worst elements of our community, the people who were considered the outsiders, the people who once might have partook in crime or did messed up things. They were the ones who were actually trying to push and get these stuff in the most. They're the ones who actually had the care. The people who are the model citizens, they didn't give two damns, Pudge. They didn't give two damns, bro. You know what I mean? And it's a sad situation at hand, man. But it's almost like, if I'm not stuck in that situation, it's got nothing to do with me anymore. You know what I mean? It's.
Unfortunately, there's that sort of attitude prevailing. Even here in Australia, where they feel like, oh, it's not my problem if it's not part of my immediate household. My immediate family. Then why do I have to be concerned with it? You know what I mean? Like, there's enough. There's all these bad stuff happening all the time, but I just have to worry about myself.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
But we can't, because at the end of the day, what happens if you're in that predicament? You're gonna need a fucking helping hand. You know what I mean? Like,
today it's me, tomorrow it's you, bro.
That's right.
That's exactly
you
what
can't
it
think
is.
that way, because one day you could be, a kid being murdered in Palestine. You know what I mean? Or your children could be going through that sort of stuff. And then what are you gonna do then? You're screaming out to the world. And then what? And you want everyone to just look away and be like, oh, that's not my problem.
Exactly.
That's not my problem.
And then on top of that, try to shout you down as well and be like, hey, it's not that bad, huh? Just because, just calm down, bro.
Yeah, that's right.
Nah, I feel you, Pudge. I feel you, man. But I wanted to go back, Pudge, because you got an extremely interesting story, right? You're one of the interesting fellas where you left the street life in Australia and got saved in London.
Yeah.
How does that work out, brother? How does that work out, my brother?
Oh, sweet. Well, basically, yeah, that's right. Yeah. And it's funny because, throughout my life, I've done so many different things, you know what I mean? And like, as you would know it as well, there's an element to it, whether it's the community, whether it's because we grew up without a dad and we come from broken homes, that you gravitate towards your brothers, towards your boys, and whatever they do, you do it ahead. You know what I mean? So whether it's bad, whether it's good, it's like you're all in it together, and that's the aim. You know what I mean? To one day you all make it out, and you all fucking have bugs, and you all, it was
the paid in full effect.
And you be the men. You know what I mean? And you and your boys be the men. And whoever that's with, that sort of loyalty.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that followed me throughout my life. Even though I've done education, I went through, I've done a paramedic course. You know what I mean? I've done so many things that I try to advance and please my family and, get an education around. I always came back somehow to the commissions, to the flats, to the, to the drugs, through partying, through violence, it's always in a way I gravitated somehow back towards there. Then I fell in it really badly after my last breakup, because I was always emotional for some reason after going through breakup.
It's true.
But I couldn't handle it, and then I just lost it, and then I just fell into massive drug use. You know what I mean? Like badly, So then I was just doing everything under the sun. And then and it got to a stage where it was like I couldn't see the light anymore. You know what I mean? It was so dark. Everything was just so dark. Anyway, and I think my sister and my mum and my grandma, they always looked after me in that way. You know what I mean? We looked after each other. We had a small little family, but we went through a lot of things together. We went through wars, we went through poverty, we went through violence, all sorts of stuff, but we came out the other end. So we always had each other's back, you know? So they looked after me, and my sister paid for me to do a course in London. She was a model, and then she transitioned to acting. She was living in New York. My sister was living in New York.
Yep.
I was living with my grandma, my mum in Broady. Yep. And she, you know, they could, I guess, behind the backs now, looking back at it, you know what I mean? They were trying to put a plan together how to save me, because they could see that I was losing my mind. You know what I mean? I got to a point where I was suffering from psychosis, and fucking I'm seeing things, and I'm not there. You know what I mean? I got to a real bad stage, you know. So then she said, you know, I'll book a flight for you, accommodation, and this course. Go for a month to London and see, and just see if you like it or not. And I'm like, acting? What the fuck's acting? You know what I mean? We're not for acting.
No,
like,
we're not for cameras,
you know
bro. We're never behind the camera. We're always running away from cameras.
That's
the way
we're
were.
not for acting, man. Don't worry about that. Like, that's ridiculous. You do you. I'm not for that sort of stuff. She's like, please, you know, like she paid for everything. So then I couldn't not do it. You know, I felt bad, and I'm like, all right, I'll do it, you know. And I went there. So I went to London. It's the first time I went. I was 29. I went there for a month in August. I remember it was August. It was a summer course that I did. It was a summer course. So you do this month long from 10 to 6, Monday to Friday, with this guy Giles Foreman. Shout out to Giles Foreman, the man.
Yeah, he got a lot out of you?
Loved him, man. Loved him. Saved my life in a way.
Okay.
So first day there, I come in and I'm surrounded by these like quirky individuals. You know, like there's people from Belgium, from Switzerland, from fucking Germany, from all across Europe, from London, you know, all these quirky little actors and artists and creative people. And I'm stuck in a room with them. I'm like, what the fuck is this? This isn't my environment.
Did you feel like a fish out of water? Okay.
I feel insecure. I feel shy. I feel like I'm an imposter. I'm like, what am I doing here? Yeah?
Absolutely.
The first exercise they had was we all had to gather in a circle, and they said, do a dance. Everyone has to. I'm gonna play. I'm going to play a song, and then you have to get into the middle of the circle. You have to look at everyone in the eyes, and you have to dance, whatever comes to you, you know? And other people have to mimic you. And I'm like, what the
Knowing you, Paj, you would have been.
I was so scared. I wanted to get out of this, so I thought I'm gonna fake an injury, or like I gotta like break a leg.
All right, legit. You wanted a dash.
I did, because I was like, I'm not doing this, bro. So I'm like, what am I gonna do? I can't dance. I never danced, you know. So then finally my turn comes, and I just get in there. I'm full of nerves. I start shadow boxing. I just start shadow boxing. All I did was
crept back to your default.
Start shadow boxing. Anyway, people start copying me, and then after that I done that, and I was like, man, that was mad. And then I went home after that day, and I thought, like, I want to turn away. Like, I want to go back. I don't want to do this shit anymore.
Yeah.
But then something in me was like, nah, but this is mad. Like, I love the feeling, this sort of like, this creativity or whatever I did that day, or whatever it was, whatever I've like seen. Yeah. It just, I don't know, it just attracted me. And then after that, I stayed the whole month. Okay. And it was fucking sick, you know? And then I loved it. By the end of it, I'm the one doing dancing and initiating the whole dance and loving it. And it was unbelievable. And after that, what I said to myself, I was like, I'm going to come back to London. And I'm going to go back. Okay. I'm going to come back to London after 4 months, get my visa. You can get a 2-year visa. Okay. And then head back, and you know, the rest is history. And then I went back there for 3 years, man, you know, to do the full course, and, you know.
I remember there was a time, Paj, where I was living my life through your Instagram stories and that, bro. One day you're in New York, one day you're in London, one day you're here, there, bro. You did a lot, man. But I can imagine, Paj, that would have been a moment where you were fighting yourself almost. Yeah. Yeah, like, it's like, the real you was trying to come out, but then the other you was holding you down, sort of thing. Yeah. Would that be fair to say?
That's a perfect analysis, you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, I always had this in me to be creative, to be more, you know, to be creative, to let out my emotion. I always was like that anyway. Yeah. It's not like I wasn't that way, you know what I mean? Like, I was always being comfortable being myself with whoever. Mm-hmm. You know, I always like to laugh.
You're always that, you didn't act hard.
You know what I mean? Never acted hard, you know what I mean? Like, so. To me, it was never that, but I clearly, like, it just gave me the satisfaction to be out there performing, you know what I mean? Like, it was just something that I never explored. Because when you come from low poverty environment, when you talk about acting, a lot of the times people are going to go, bro, you fucking retard, you know, like.
Pudge, it was to a point, even in the area, right? Because it was almost like, even like something that the lower income areas are really good at, like rapping and things like that, it was not encouraged in our areas, bro.
Shut down.
Shut down, like who the hell are you? What are you trying to do?
What are you trying to do, bro? Who does he think he is, you know what I mean?
If you try to create some content, be like, what's going on here, bro? You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, we had a lot of that, man. We had a lot of that growing up.
But selling drugs is alright, you know? Oh, that's alright.
You know what I mean? It's beating someone to inch their life.
That's alright.
You know what I mean? You end up getting locked up, you're the man now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All the negative things are just highlighted and influenced as like, oh man, that's sick, you know? Like, but then you try to do something creative, you're trying to do something that's different. It's like you're looked at as a weirdo or, you know.
Weirdo, bro.
Like, watch out. He's cooked. Even now, bro, people think I'm cooked. You know what I mean? I speak to people, shit that I do. They're like, I think, you know, you're a big cook still and this and that. I'll go, bro, I'm the most sane and sober now that I've ever been. You know?
Hey, if this is cooked, then I'm cooked as well, bro. You know, we're all cooked, bro. Let's be real.
Yeah, and then the same cunts that are telling me I'm cooked are the ones that are still fucking puffing or snorting or drinking, you know. But I'm the cook one. All right, brother.
You know, misery loves company, Pudge, yeah? And they'll rather you sitting there with them than you be in London or traveling up to Sydney for an acting gig or going up here. And you know what I mean, man? Yeah. It's like, it's a wild one, man. It's a wild one. But then, okay, you went back to London. So you stayed here for 6 months?
So I came back 4 months, got my visa, got it sorted out. Had a little fling with this girl that I was there.
Okay.
And then I ended up like sort of conversating with her. We're like, let's move in together when I come back.
Yeah.
Came back, didn't work out. The relationship didn't work out. Corona hits within 2 months of our relationship anyway. Oh. She goes back to Ireland. She goes back to Ireland. I'm about to get a ticket to go back to Australia. My second leg of the flight is cancelled from Qatar. So then the ticket's no good. So then I'm like, fuck, so I've got to stay here. So I'm facing homelessness. I've got no money. I try to apply for grants from the London, from what do you call it, the Centrelink.
They got their welfare programs on that.
My visa, they say you can't receive anything. So I'm there going, bro, what the fuck do I do? I'm like, at least it's going to be spring and summer, so I'm going to not be homeless, you know? Yeah. But I'm thinking if I am homeless, I just got to ride with it.
You're going to roll with it.
I had to roll with it.
What a G, bruv.
I stay there and I'm like, fuck, it became sort of Corona hit about there, like March, you had lockdown, and I'm there trying to get a new flat. Because we had a flat, we were paying like, I don't know, 1,000, it was a lot, £1,000 for both of us. And then after that, when she left, I had to pay it by myself. I couldn't pay for shit, so I had to move out. So that's when I start looking into places to move out to, and I find Bernardo Gardens Estate, man.
Bernardo Gardens
Estate in Shadwell, man. I go in East London, you know. I go, fuck it, you know what I mean?
I need a roof.
I hung around the flats for a lot of my life, as you would know.
Yep.
So I'm like, I'll just go live in the flats now, man. In London, why not? You know. So then that's how I ended up. I ended up in London, lived in that moved there. That was the cheapest option out of any.
Yeah.
Moved there, was alright. Lived next to this, like in this. Looked like it's similar to Flemington, you know.
Okay,
what I mean?
yeah.
Shorter. I don't know how many stories was about. 1, 2, 6 story.
Okay, 6 stories.
High-rise, and then you had the little town.
The townies. You'll have your walkies.
It was a whole little community, and it was Shadwell just covered in these like sort of like, it's not just the one-off, you know.
It just goes.
Bro, it goes. Shadwell's one of these areas where it's
a hectic estate, huh?
There's just not much there, apart from estate. You know what I mean? So it's a funny area.
And what were the demographics of the area?
So you had Nigerians, Pakistanis, you had, I guess, people from England, you had immigrants, a lot of immigrants coming there, like sort of what I did. You know, I was considered, I guess, an immigrant because I come from Australia to live there. So I lived with she was from Czech Republic, the guy was from Italy. Okay. You know, so you get just quite a demographic there. But it was mainly, that area was mainly Pakistani. Mainly Pakistanis. And you had like their main, like, you know,
the main road was all Pakistani shops.
Main shops, everything, bro. So it was mad, you know, it was main shops, the stores, the grocery stores, you know what I mean?
Munching out on tandoori chicken and all that kind of stuff,
bro,
right?
all of it, all the time, you know what I mean? Right. So I go run down Hackney towards the park. I do my little runs around the park, around the Thames, the River Thames. It was right next to the river.
The estate was on the river as well, huh?
It was near the river.
Okay,
near the river. So it was mad. So it was just, I had my little routine. You know what? I ended up, because I was going broke, and then I ended up, some of my mates sent me some money, which was cool. And then I ended up taking my superannuation out.
Okay, all right. During that COVID time, they were letting people.
10 grand in superannuation. That was all I had. And I ended up taking the whole lot. And
at least you were comfortable for a bit.
At least I was like, fuck, at least I can now survive, you know?
Yeah,
and then I got
yeah.
a job working at a bar in August or so of that year. So it was like, I went there in February. By August, I had a job working in a bar for schmed pay, schmed bar, Green King, you can suck my fucking left nut, you bloody dogs, you know what I mean? Like a shocking place, yeah? Shocking place. Like
do we want to reveal the name of the bar just so we stay away from it if we ever go to London or what, bro? Right?
Green King, man. It's
the
a
Green
whole
King.
chain.
Okay. Oh, it's a chain.
It's a chain.
They got chain pubs there?
It's a chain, bro. Chain pubs. Green King, and they got fucking it was in Mayfair, one of the richest areas. You know Monopoly?
Yeah.
You get Mayfair.
Mayfair, yeah, I've heard of that.
The richest area, you know?
Okay.
One bunch of wankers. You're dealing with a bunch of fucking wankers, man.
Give me a pint of beer, eh?
Yeah, get out of here, man. So it was shocking, bro. I was there cleaning toilets, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And you gotta do what you gotta do, man.
You gotta do what you gotta do because there was the pub monitor or whatever that had the role, which was like because during the Corona time, they shouldn't even been open really. And then I'm there, like everyone, like you switch around the staff to make it more safe or whatever, even though it wasn't safe, there was no ventilation in the whole bar. So we all ended up getting Corona.
Like everyone copied it.
Yes. I mean, you know, so they're trying to make it safe, but it wasn't. And then we ended up, you had this one role, you go and clean toilets, and I'm there, I'm thinking to myself, I'm 29, bro. You know, I made a few money here and there, you know, back in this, what am I doing back in
doing this, like
back in Melbourne, you know, and I'm thinking, I'm sitting there going, bro, what am I doing here, man?
Just like, thinking about your options, what
you're going
about
what I did, you know, I'm like, fuck, man, but it felt good because I felt clean, and I'm like, nah, but this is the path to go, you know. So if you some people, how many immigrants here in Australia, they come and they come with degrees, bro. They come with doctor's degrees, they come with, you know, engineering degrees, and they have to clean toilets. They got to, you know,
clean toilets, taxi drivers,
or whatever. They get by to feed their family. So I thought, why am I any different? You know, that's what I got to do, man. I got to just, and I work with all these immigrants from Sardinia.
Sardinia,
Sardinia, bro. Sick cunts, you know? Yeah.
Bruh, that's interesting, man. That's interesting. One thing that I do respect, Paj, is that you're never scared to get out of your comfort zone, just if you know that it's going to better yourself. You know what I mean, man? And it's like, that's huge, bro. That's huge, Paj, man. So how was it going? How was you? So were you constantly, while you were doing all of this, you were constantly going to acting school and things like that?
So acting school came after, that's right, yeah. So I enrolled, I'd done another month course. Joel's chopped me out, he gave it to me to do it, you know. Just
on the house,
wow. Bro, yeah, he's the man.
Okay.
This guy, you know, like, he's like, the man. I can't say enough positive things about Giles Foreman.
And he knew your story, he understood what you were staying away from? Okay,
he knew it, he loved it. He's the one that told me, he goes, you need to come back here, man. Because I said to him, I go, I'm suffering from this. He goes, it's not a place for you anymore. You got to come here and you got to do this, you know. And I took his advice, and that's why I came to London. I took his advice, I came down, and then he said, look, I want you to do the school, the full-time theatre school, you know.
Okay.
Then I'm like, fuck, all right, sweet, you know. So then ended up doing that towards the end of the year. And then, haven't looked back since, man. It was intense school, like, you know, intense theatre school, and you're doing all sorts of emotional preparations, and you're digging into all your trauma, and you're fucking laughing, you're crying, you're dancing.
Like within 5 minutes, you can do like all of these, you're going through all of these emotions.
It's nuts. Yeah,
okay.
It's nuts. Like it was anxious as fuck, you know. We're doing it under Corona, you know. So throughout the pandemic, you know, like in this underground, there used to be an ex-car park, converted into like a little studio, you know. So it was challenging, but it got through it in the end, and knock on wood, it was really good experience, you know.
Because knowing you, bro, like we've been through a few life or death situations, you know what I mean? And for you to say that was traumatic, that was hectic, I can only imagine how much that would have got out of you, bro.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because you just got to tap into your emotion, but you got to share it with the whole strangers. You know, that's the hard part.
Man.
You got to tap into something that's real for you. And you got to tell that story of whatever it is to a bunch of people that you don't even know, you know. And that was quite hard, you know. But then after doing it, it was so therapeutic, you know, because you just feel so free after it. That's what I realized. You just feel free. So when you let out anything that's like personal or whatever, after it, you get a sense of freedom. Like, you know, if you're not going to be judged for that, then you can elevate it. You can do anything.
I respect that part, because you know what? Growing up in the area, I've always noticed that for you to be successful in what you're doing in the area of partaking in illegal activity, you got to have a high level of insecurity, bro. Because you know what I mean, Paj? Like for you, like in the area now, if someone disrespects you in any small way, you got to take care of that. You got to say this, that. As I grow older, I realize, bro, that's an intense level of insecurity, bro. You know what I mean? Like it's wild, Paj, and you'll never be set free. You know what I mean? Like you're always going to be controlled in that situation. Bruh, it's a crazy one, man. It's a crazy one, Paj. Man, nah, that's wild, man. And then, what was the situation? What brought you back to Melbourne, man?
Well, but basically, I finished my course.
Yeah.
I finished my acting course, and then the goal is to find some acting work after you finish the course, you know. And then I had a relationship there too. I had a relationship there that was, you know, with this beautiful Swiss girl, you know.
You're always in a relationship with beautiful, different types of men. Party model, right? Yeah, go, continue.
Beautiful, but she was beautiful outside, inside.
Inside and out.
She's a singer. She's a singer as well.
Okay.
So it was lovely, you know, and we'd done the course together, and it was up and down, you know, because by the nature of that course, you go through different emotions, and sometimes you take it out on each other, and it's not good, but you know, it's the nature of it. And then so that finished. The course finished, so I thought, all right, sweet. And at the moment, I got another job. I was working as what do you call it, like a roadie. So I'm unloading trucks. I'm loading trucks. I'm you know, packing up stuff for bands and all the equipment and shit like that. So that was my job that I was doing on nights, and just to earn some money, you know. Shit pay, no penalty rates, no nothing. All across London, it's shit pay.
Yeah, like the working conditions are completely different to here, huh?
Completely different, yeah. You get there's no Saturday time and a half, Sunday double pay. There's no night pay. You know, you get more reward. And hourly rates, like if I was like $20 an hour, hourly rate for like decent, you know,
for like heavy, hard lifting work and everything.
Jobs, yeah.
Whereas over here, you'll get what, at least 30 to 35, at least 30 to 35.
So completely different, and the prices are double.
Okay, cost of living is hectic there as well, huh?
It's even double.
Yo.
So it's like, man, well, now it's getting worse here.
Yeah, it's horrible here now.
Now it's horrible. So, but back then, it was like that. You know what I mean? Now it's nearly catching up, man.
Oh, man, we're there, Paj. We're almost there, like you said.
But anyway, what I was going to get back where was, and then so anyway, so I finished the course.
Yeah.
I finished the course, and then I was with her, and then I was trying to get acting work and stuff like that, but it just wasn't working out because it's hard. It's hard to break into this industry, bro. Well, this industry is filled with middle class people, man. 80% of it's filled with middle class people. You don't have people from the bottom trying to, you know, getting chances to be actors and.
So it's like it's
tight. It's all reserved for people with connections that are rich, or you know, or they have connections. So they can get that audition and they can land it, and they know the casting director, they know the agent. It's all a business behind the scenes. So if you're trying to break into that, but it's very hard. Even if you have skills, even if you're good at what you do, just to get an audition, just to get someone to watch it is a step in itself, because you got to get an agent. So I got an agent in the end, but then, you know, then that agent needs to get you the auditions, and then it's hard to come by to get movie auditions, to get serious auditions. It's all...
So your talent, it doesn't really matter. It's who your agent knows what door he can get in.
What you look like.
Okay.
What you look like and what's in. What's in now?
Okay.
What's in? What color is in? What sex is in? Whatever.
So now, if there's a mass amount of hood shows coming on, they'll want obviously someone that looks like me to go in there and hey, this, that.
Probably. Yeah. So it's all on timing as well. So let's say, you know, they're doing a film, and they're doing a film about whatever, you know, like about a story about, I don't know, an East African living in an estate or something. In an estate or something like that. Bang. You know, you'll get the audition. You can get into it. You know, and stuff like that.
So then it also leaves a lot of room for exploitation, right? For these people that are in control of people who are getting roles, man. Like, that's why I watched, bro, my wife put me on this show called Baby Reindeer. Yes. And me and my wife watched it, bro. Paj, yes. Man. I was like, brah, you know what I mean, man? It's wild, man. The amount of exploitation that comes in that industry, man. It's crazy, man, because that's I don't want my daughters to be in that industry just for that, bro, because then you have sickos that are able to just be like, hey.
Bro, that's exactly it. So that rendition in that show of London, the way it is, that's exactly how it was, bro. Yeah, except I didn't get bunned, you know.
No, of course, you would have gave a fly kick to the head, bro. Like, I'd rather not act than get exploited, absolutely.
So that's what I mean. So he went, I don't know what he did, you know what I mean?
But even in that, he didn't even get anything out of the guy who raped him, bro. He didn't even get anything out of it, bro.
And then he went back to him, I don't know, that was a whole different ball game.
And then Paj, I started theorizing. I was like, listen, was he the one who was abusing the girl, or was Martha the one getting abused? I don't know, bro. Paj. She was crazy, but at the same time, she was mentally ill, bro.
Yeah, that's right. You know, and she never went to prison.
She never went to prison. And this guy kept going back to his abuser. Look, we're not victim blaming, you know what I mean? We can't. Yeah. Kept going back to his abuser. He allowed Martha to give him all of this, you know what I mean? Blow smoke up his ass because he needed it at the time.
Blew him up.
Blew him up. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's a tough one, Paj. It's a tough one, man. That's an interesting story because the line between abuser and victim is very, very vague in that one, bro. It's wild, man.
Absolutely,
it's wild,
but it's a funny one because that show really displayed how it is. You go to London, so people go, it's similar to New York, because I know from my sister directly, you know what they go to New York, they go to London, they go to these big cities that you're supposed to make it in music, acting, whatever,
modeling,
dancing, whatever, modeling. So they go to these cities and very rarely they make it in these things that they can make a living out of it. So they end up working in a bar, they end up sometimes pissing their life away through drugs and alcohol for years on end, hoping that because they don't want to come back to their country where they left from, because they don't want to feel like a loser. You know what? So they're trapped in that mentality where they want to stay there and prove something, but I think get out of there. You know what I mean? Like there's plenty of other places that you can do art. You know, like you don't have to go to New York. You don't have to go to London. You don't have to go to these places where and just sap your soul. You know what I mean? Doing these shit jobs, putting up with all these like really crappy environment just to trying to do what you love, and sometimes you never even end up doing it.
Never get the chance.
So I think, man, do it. Go back to wherever you're from. You know, and build it up there, like what we're doing now and stuff like that. You know, I think that's the answer.
Yeah,
you know, there's many stories to say. You know, they're not the only stories to say. The Western stories.
Yeah.
What about the American stories? Is that the only fucking film that I want to watch? No,
absolutely not.
I want to hear about animals. You know
exactly.
What I mean?
I want to know what's going on here. I want to know what's going on. And I guess that takes us to the next thing. Yeah, like somebody who done that really well in Australia is someone like Spanian, right? Who just said, "Screw it, bruv. I'm going to create a path of my own. Put the camera in front of my face and just tell you my life, bruv."
That's right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And now he's international now, bro.
Yeah.
You know? He's international now, man. So that's impressive, man. There's always a way. There's always a way, bruv.
Yeah.
Paj, what do you reckon about, moving on to Spanian, what do you reckon about his into the hood in the area, bruv? What's your take on that, brother?
Look, I thought, we're going to discuss this one, I thought it was realistic portrayal of the way it is, you know, from hanging there, because I never lived there. This is the thing, you know, some people get it confused. I never lived there. I'm from Broadmeadows, but I hung around.
Might as well have lived there, bro.
I might as well have lived there, how much I was there, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
how much I was integrated into the community, you know? So for me, it showed a decent representation of the way it is, you know what I mean? It's just what it is. Like people want to turn a blind eye in Australia to it and be like, oh, that doesn't happen here. It's like, no, bro. You have these are the people, these is the drug, there's drug dealing, there's drug use, and this is where it's happening. You know what I mean? This is your trap, this is the junkies, this is the dealers, and this is the business that goes on in these areas, you know what I mean? And then what are you gonna do? Blame the people for doing it? For the young kids growing up watching that? That's their way of making money. You know, that's what they're seeing as cool. Like we said, the negative things in the hood are looked up to. You know what I mean? Who's the most violent? Who's the guy that bashes everyone? Who's the guy that palms the most?
Who's the one pulling up in the Audi? Like who's that right there, Pudge. That right there. And it's almost like to an extent, where it's like, no, hide this shit. We don't want this shit around because you're gonna make us. We're not that barbecue, beach, backyard, man. You know how the area was, Pudge. The people who made the most money, the people who were pushing the most, they never left the area, bro. Yeah. Literally, their whole life was in like 4 blocks, man. And this is the same mentality. This is what gets to me. This is the same mentality. The streets are the same everywhere in the world. Yes, some places more people get killed. If you want to compare Australia to Chicago, yes. But then if you want to compare Chicago to, let's say, Somalia or Serbia, then it's there's levels to everything, bro.
There's levels to this shit,
Do you know what I mean? Right. So it's like, that always got to me, Pudge. And I always believe that people in these areas in Australia, we've always been gaslit by the wider society. Not whiter society, wider society, yeah, you gotta make sure, you know, you gotta make sure, you know, but we've always been almost like, no, this shit doesn't happen. So now, if these kids can't talk about it, or we can't tell our stories, or this or that, what happens, Pudge? You know, we sit there and we think it's insignificant. What we're doing is what we're doing, and we're just gonna continue doing it, bro. Yeah. It's a tough situation, Pudge. It's a tough situation.
Whereas this way is what Spanian did. It was great. You know, he revealed his story. He said, "Look, I'm from prison. This is my story. This was the culture that I grew up in.
Yep.
People related to that. Yep. All these Aussie kids now growing up, they're like, hey man, like that's what we were doing too. But look at him now. He's doing different things. He's not in crime at all.
Traveling the world, bro.
So therefore, in some aspects, he gives them the idea to be like, look, I can do the same thing. You know, or I can be creative, for example. That wasn't never on the table before. You didn't have creativity on the table when you're growing up in the hood. You know what I mean? Like,
zero. The only creativity that anybody will have is like, okay, how can I make sure that this line buzzes even much more? Who am I going to make? Who we're going to take out to make sure that this line of money comes in even more? It's all about just like, especially in the cities, Pudge, because you grew up in Broadie, you were in the area a lot. You can relate to the fact that in the cities, it's a much more fast-paced life. You know what I mean? Like, it's much more money-focused, money-motivated.
Yep.
It's like, all right, kids start off. I'll be honest. Yeah, I'll tell you how the lineage of crime happens for kids. Yeah, at the age of 12, 13, they start off with robberies, just basic robberies. Maybe initially it will be like stealing a car, this, that. Then it's like, okay, let's go rob this person. Then it slowly graduates. And if you don't put a fork in the road and say, hey, these kids actually have a story, let's sit there and talk with them and try to understand where they're coming from, then it's just going to keep graduating, bro.
Yep.
By 25, 24, you got a murder on your hands.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you know what I mean? And we try to deny that, we try to look past that, we try to look over that. But, Paj, it's time we start focusing on it, bruv. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, my friend. I do youth work now in Broadmeadows, and it's exactly the ages that you got to come in and stop that. Is about, the research even shows is about, 12. Before 12. Before 12 almost, where you can actually make some sort of impact or some sort of change. Right. But, I've seen it. I've done youth work for a long time. I grew up in I worked in Broadmeadows Community Centre for a long time, and I've seen exactly the path that they go on, and this is might say to some people is negative, but they don't know it because they haven't lived around it and they haven't worked in these areas or been associated with these people. But the way it follows is the main thing you can do for these kids growing up in the Bronx, growing up in these low socioeconomic areas with not much opportunity, because let's be honest, there's not much opportunity in these areas. No. There's no creative things, outlets that they can go to, so they go to crime because it's exciting. It's adrenaline rush. Yep. It's the boys are doing it, I'm going to join in and do it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Negative aspects are looked up to, so you're going to get the tuckies.
Yep.
You're going to get the girls then. The girls are going to like you then, you know what I mean? Because you're the man.
He's the wild boy. I didn't see what he done.
You're going to steal some clothes to look fresh, you know what I mean? Like that's how it goes. So that's what's all the negatives that in other societies that people think are negatives, in this society is positive.
It is. It's positive, bro. It's positive, 100%.
So they're going to go down this road whether you fucking do anything or not, you know what I mean? Because these environments are so like horrendous, you know what I mean? Like my main thing is, as a youth worker, is started preventing from going to drugs or ended up in jail. Those are the two things that I realised I can hopefully influence them to go down.
I love that.
Just the normal path, you know what I mean? Because they go to me, you got to change the language and you got to get him to teach him about coding and do this other stuff. I'm like, bro, this kid...
Coding, bro, what the hell, man?
This kid is going, I had fights with people in the organisation, I said, this kid, like, you got to realise, his mum's on heroin, his dad's locked up in jail. You know what I mean? His friends are all stealing dirt bikes. This
is what they're on, bro.
Like, I'm going to try to, it's beautiful to try and teach him a few things, and it's wonderful. But at the same time, my worry is that's the road he's heading down. So how can I stop him from heading down that road? What can I show him and explain to him and show him that, look, he can maybe do these few things. And sometimes you can through role modeling, you can show him, look, I write poetry, you know what I mean? Here, have a hand in writing poetry. Have a thing in making music.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Have a thing at doing Muay Thai, for example, whatever. Just something.
Find some other outlet for them.
Some outlet. Yeah, sometimes it can be extreme. Sometimes sometimes boxing and these martial arts and stuff like that, because they gravitate towards these kids because it's extreme. So it's like, like this is going to give him the same rush as you would to go and steal a fucking moped, But and then other times, sometimes the creativity, they don't know about it. They love it. They love talking about writing rhymes, you know what I mean, and making songs, and that's why rap is so popular in our fucking
in the
community.
low income areas.
Rhythm and poetry.
Yes.
You know what I mean? They want the rhythm, they have the poetry.
Yep.
Because they love it. This is why is rap taking off so much,
The rap, and that's the thing, Paj, right? Rap historically has always been the soundtrack to the streets and the lower class areas and this and that. But now it's it's a soundtrack for the establishment, basically, man. You know what I mean? Like they understand and they realize how powerful the art was.
Yeah.
And now they're just pushing all of their degeneracy, all of their effery into it, you know what I mean? And it's a sad situation.
Even this Kendrick and Drake, man.
But I've seen you make a comment, I've seen that. You said Kendrick is not a revolutionary or this or that.
We don't compare him to Tupac, bro. What are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, don't compare him to Tupac. What's he's done? You know what I mean? They're beefing with each other. I'm pretty sure they're owned by the same fucking label.
Yeah. And you're right. You mentioned that Park would have been talking about what's going on in Palestine now. Park would have been talking about with all the effery that's...
I think so. We can't...
We can't... Look, we don't know how powerful the establishment would have been to sway his mentality at this age, you know what I mean? You never know. But at the same time, they were different, bro.
But to me, a good artist is the one that takes a stand. You know what I mean? A great artist is the one that's going to go against the grain and say, this is unpopular, I'm going to do it because it's the right thing to do. And if an artist is not doing that, And you got the genocide in Palestine occurring, and you're not saying anything, and you can, and you got a platform, and you got then come on, bro. You know what I mean? Then you're not, to me. Hey, you're great.
Yeah.
You can't be great.
No,
you know what I mean? Like if you're not mentioning it through some way or another, you know.
No, you
or
can't.
any other conflicts that are going on. You got Congo, you got Sudan. You know what I mean? If you're gonna be about that sort of stuff,
then just stand up and say something about it.
Stand up and say something.
Yeah, if you really believe it. But like, it's sad, bro.
If you're pushing this narrative that, you know, like you for Nipsey, and you know you're making a concert for Nipsey and whoever, and you're carrying the legacy.
Trying to be conscious and stuff like that. Yeah, if
trying to be conscious, but then But are you unconscious that you can't see what's going on outside America?
Yeah, I feel you 100. Hey, Paj, I'm with you 100%, bro. I'm with you 100% when it comes to that, because it's like, like the music is so catchy, and it gets to you, it makes you want to dance, you know what I mean? But at the same time, what are we doing here, you know? What are we doing here? What are we doing here, man? Yeah. But yeah, man, that's just what it is, Paj. That's just what it is, man. That's just what it is. But let's bring it back to the area, Paj. Let's bring it back to the area, yeah? Let's talk about how quick things can change and things can turn where we're from, you know what I mean? There's times where there's a big pack, everyone's down with each other and things like that, but then things can change really quickly, you know what I mean? And these are things where basically what I'm trying to say is, how do we get the next generation to try to have some sort of camaraderie with each other and not basically delete each other out of, you know what I mean?
As long as you have drugs, you're going to have feuds. That's what it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I really think so. Because it breeds that. Drugs breed the jealousy, the envy. The cliques are forming. He's making more. Why do I have to work for him?
Yeah.
Who's he to tell me we grew up the same?
Yeah.
I think drugs, if you have drugs, you're always going to have inner beef in this community.
That's a fact. That is a fact, Paj, when you think about it in that way, man. Yeah, money has always been the reason for a lot of the conflicts. Money has always been a reason for a lot of the conflicts.
That's right. So you got to first remove that, but how do you remove that? I don't know, bro.
How do you remove that? You're right, man. If you're not providing any other ways for them to get money, then we can't really criticize them for doing whatever they're doing, bruv. We can't really criticize them for doing whatever they're doing.
How did you see? So you saw the elevation, you know, from sort of growing up in that area, and how did you end up in that predicament? You know what I mean? Like, sort of, what was your...
With me, Paj, like, as you know, growing up, like, I was always the way I am now, but at the same time, it's like, I really cared for people. You know what I mean? And it's weird, because that can come out in different ways. It can come out, like, any issue or beef that I got into, any situation that I got into wasn't really for my situation. It was for anybody else that I was riding with or had their back, you know what I mean? As you know my story, Paj, growing up, at the age of 17, I had to take off. 16, I had to take off. Did Perth, 1 year in Perth, because of getting kicked out of school. Remember when we were having our issue with Carlton, we had a little rivalry with them. You know what I mean? It wasn't the most serious, but it was a little rivalry with them. We had rivalries with some Asians out in Sunshine and St. Albans as well. And it was a hectic situation. Police started kicking in my door. So Mum said, you know what, that's why I salute my mum and love my mum. To the same way that your sister, your grandmother and mother, it's always the women in our lives, bro, that really care. You know what I mean? Let's be real, you know? She said, nah, screw this, let's pack up. I'm taking you to Perth. Obviously, there was a situation that happened at school as well, so then I took off to Perth. Going through what I went through in Perth, I was still partaking in effery, but at the same time in Perth, they weren't as deep as what we were doing in Melbourne. So then my mum realised, she said, hey, after a year or so, I was starting to get into entanglements with Indigenous people over there and this and that. And my mum's like, okay, she had to make that decision, right? It's like, it's either I stay here now and he's going to partake in things with other communities, or I move back to Melbourne where I can control him a bit more. And it's around our people and things like that.
And so, what drew you to always go back to that?
I don't know, Raj, bro. I don't know. I just don't know, bro. I can't even blame the area, bro. You know what I mean? Like maybe it's in my blood, because my father was a rebel leader back in the days. He was one of the founding members of the OLF, you know, and he was always fighting against the government. My grandfather was always against the government. He was more of a scholar. I guess that's where my reading comes from, yeah? My grandfather was more of the scholar. He had his doctorate and everything like that, but he was always fighting the Ethiopian government at the time as well. So maybe that's where my rebellious side came from. And obviously when you're in Australia, it's gonna translate into being in some sort of illegal activity, you know? So then came back to Melbourne. After I came back to Melbourne, I was here for a year. A lot a lot of wild shit happened. There was a lot of, there was the operation called Operation Malta. We went to war with the police, let's be real. Yeah, there were stages where there was boys getting picked up and dumped out in the countryside, you know what I mean? Beaten up, taken to the countryside. There was times where the federal police were kicking the doors. They were coming to schools. And at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, while some of us were in classes, raiding us, you know what I mean? In class.
You're 17 at this stage, in class?
17, 16,
so
young,
underage.
Even underage, bro. Some of us were 15. These cunts will pull up to the basketball court while we're playing ball at night time and they'll just park on the basketball court and tell us, oh, what the fuck, you fucking black cunts, can't see you, or that, you know what I mean? Now, Paj, I always understood that it wasn't, these cunts were just dicks, and I understood that it wasn't fully a racist issue. I know these cunts there would have been some of them that were racist,
yeah.
But because I grew up in an area where there was a lot of other races as well, there was a lot of times where they'll take the rap for us and this, that, because they knew they'll get away with things a bit more. But, yeah, man, Paj, so it got to the point where there was a lot of that going on. The feds were kicking indoors. There was a situation where I almost got shot as well. So then our neighborhood was going through a lot. At that time. I had family members pass away. There was another couple of family members that ended up doing over 10 years in jail during that time, because it was a volatile time. It was a time where the Africans and the Aussies and other people were battling for the drug trade in the area, basically.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So then at that time, the police were going intense, bruv. So I was on the run. Yeah, for 2 weeks, I took off to Fitzroy. Yeah, I stayed with my cousin there for a bit, and into another estate, you know, but obviously it wasn't our estate, so it was a bit more low key.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So from there, we ended up, I didn't have a passport at the time. We got my passport, bang. My mum said, screw this. She sold up half the house and everything, bro. And she took me to Ethiopia, you know? Yeah, she took me to Ethiopia during that time. So I was on the run in Ethiopia for a year. But during that time, I learned a lot, bro. I was with my grandfather. I was helping him write like history books for, you know, our history and things like that. So I was getting much more conscious at that time, understanding there's other sides of stuff, you know what I mean? So yeah, Paj, when I came back after that, look, I came back after a year. Salute to my brother, my family members. They got a lot of money together. They made sure that we had a lawyer, you know? Yeah. So as I landed back in Australia, I got arrested at the airport. Thank goodness, I've never spent extended times in jail, ever. Yeah. I spent 4 days here, 3 days there, you know what I mean? But not hectic time. So yeah, man, as I came back, they arrested me, took me to the police station. I was under the courts for like 3-4 days. They wanted to remand me into my court case, bruv. But then because of the great lawyers, you know, once you've got paid lawyers, they, you know what I mean? Like, it's different.
It's complete, once you have money,
Paj,
the system works in your favor, yeah?
I had boys that would...
If you had legal aid, you would have been still in jail, man.
Bro, they were spent 6 to 7 months in remand at different times just because they didn't have lawyer money, bro. You know what I mean? Whereas me, you know what I mean? Me, what they did was they made sure that they banned me from the city of Moonee Valley. So at that time, I wasn't allowed to go into Flemington, Asker Vale, you know what I mean? All of those areas. Thank goodness, 2 years before, they just changed North Melbourne, because North Melbourne was part of the city of Moonee Valley. It just changed to the city of Melbourne. Okay. So if that was still part of the city of Moonee Valley, I would have been locked up. And a few of the boys from Flem, they couldn't get bail because of that. Because they were banning them from city of Moonee Valley, but their only residence was in the city of Moonee Valley. So then they had to sit inside jail. They had to literally sit in jail, bro. You know what I mean? They can't go anywhere else. They can't go anywhere else, bro. You know what I mean? So they had to sit down. It was an interesting time, Paj. There was a lot going on, man. You know what I mean? During the Operation Malta, the police were doing a lot of fuckery, Paj, man. A lot of fuckery, man. Like, there was one stage where they came to my house. They had me at gunpoint, threw the Quran on the ground. You know what I mean? Arresting me, beating me up in my room. And my mum's such a soldier, bro. My mum will always ride for me. You dogs, get out of here. You know, no fear, bro. You know what I mean? No fear, you know, Paj? So, yeah, man, I think that's how I became me, you know what I mean? And then as I came back, I had to sign in for like 3 years straight every day. So I was forced to calm the hell down. Yeah. You know what I mean? I was forced to calm the hell down, but all that did was made me smarter, you know? Yeah. And as we know, the story, I became different at that time, you know? It's an interesting one, Parch, bro. It's an
very
interesting one. It's an
man,
interesting one. You know, that's just a little delve into my story. But there's a bit here and there. But yeah, man.
That's right, brother. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, Parch, man. But
it's funny how the police suppression. That was a massive. Because I've never seen. Because I come from Broadmeadows, and Broadmeadows is a low socioeconomic area, working class area. It's mixed in. You have house commissions. 30% of Broadmeadows is house commissions. I think people that it's just that it's a low working class area. It's to me it's a good area.
Yeah.
People have media paints it as a negative in a negative light always, but I don't think it does justice, to be honest.
No, absolutely not.
Absolutely not. I think there's some beautiful people living there, and anyone that goes and experiences it there always loved it. So but we used to get you walk around and then the cops will sort of pull up on you. They'll get out with the flashlight and be like, hey, where you going? What are you doing? Just harass you.
Yeah.
But this will happen. It won't happen all the time. But then when I was hanging around in North at the stairs, these pigs,
man,
for the lack of a better word, just because that's how they were acting at the time, they would come around every day, bro. Every day they'll come up and do the same exact thing. And I thought to myself, I'm like, bro, this is on a different level here.
Yeah.
This is different. They're not harassing these rich people around the area. They're just cruising these two streets. They're cruising Pampas Street and they're cruising Mark Street, and they're just coming up and down every single night.
Yep, and that's the crazy thing about it, Pudge, right? Because then if we look at the whole layout of these areas, North Melbourne, Flemington, all of these flats, the 100% housing commission areas are all in probably some of the better areas in Melbourne, right? Fitzroy, Collingwood, Carlton, North Melbourne, like all of that stuff. Whereas, and every single estate is built the same. You'll have the housing estate, maybe close to 5,000 people in some of them, 2-3 streets. Flemington is only one way in and out, right? Before the Holland Court side. And all of them will be the same. They'll have the police station right there. And because they're in the richer areas, these low income areas, like these housing commission, 100% housing commission areas are in low income, in some of the richer areas, the police aren't patrolling anywhere else. They're waking up in the morning, come straight to us, you know what I mean? They harass us. It happened, Pudge, and they harassed a lot of us before anybody became a criminal, before anyone was a part of anything, bro.
Doesn't that motivate you to be a criminal? Because if you look at it and you say, well, if you treated me this way, anyway, I might as well just be what you think of me anyway. I think that psychologically plays a part.
Yeah.
And what they did in the media is not responsible for this. The Australian media, every wave of immigrants, they paint them in the worst possible light they can, so they can get people to hate on the immigrants. So you had the Sudanese community has been painted in the most negative light there is, to make them appear like a gang. Yeah. It was my knowledge that they even coined the term of the gang. What was the gang that Apex?
Yeah.
Apex didn't even exist before the media didn't make it up. And then it became a gang, and it became wider.
You're these young kids. You're like, oh bang, we're getting shouted out. Let's keep ripping. Yeah. Absolutely.
You're creating the problem. But that's sort of discrimination. You're creating the problem sometimes in the community. The kids are going to go. Humans are always going to rebel against oppression.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So if the police are oppressing, you're going to say, no, fuck you. I'm going to go and do something now, because you're harassing me now.
It's happening, bro. You know what I mean?
I'm not going to cop it,
It got to a time, Pudge, where there was one time, where it was an interesting one. A police bulletproof vest got stolen in the area, Someone stole a police bulletproof vest. No one knows who it was, but it got stolen, right? And it was never recovered. But what the police done for the next week, Pudge, they kicked in everyone's door, whether they went to uni, whether they were street kids, whether they were parents, whether they were, no matter who it was, bro, they kicked in everyone's door, Pudge. And that did something, that created a lot of anger, man. A lot of anger, man. Because majority of people didn't have nothing to do with this, bro. No one knows what happened to that vest, bro. You know what I mean? It's like, but they had to save face, right? And they still didn't, because they didn't recover it. And it was, they ended up getting a lawsuit, man. Yeah. Because there was a lawsuit that ended up happening with the police in the area, right? Because of the Operation Malto and due to all of the harassment that happened. And they lost the lawsuit, you know what I mean? They actually lost the lawsuit, man, because it was unprecedented amount of police interactions. It's crazy. But Pudge, these areas have always been like that. Even before we came to the area in Flemington, 85 and 86. You remember where there was the police that got shot on South Yarra or something like that?
Was it the two of them? Two police got set up and shot?
Yes.
That was by the fucking, what's their name?
I can't remember their names, but one of them was in the area. it was this one guy, I can't remember his exact name, but they ended up kicking in his door, right? In Flemington. This is in the 80s. They ended up shooting him in the head. They tied him up, they shot him in the head. They said that as they came in, he was shooting and they were shooting back. The coroner's report always finds out this guy had a gunshot to the back of the head and he was handcuffed at the time.
What was he shooting like this, bro?
You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, boom, boom, boom. You know what I mean?
Bang, bang. Come on, man.
Gunshot to the back of the head while he was handcuffed. You know what I mean? It's wild. Only God knows what happened, if he shot the cop or not. Only God knows. But this is the history of policing in the area. You know what I mean? They'll come in and they'll come all guns blazing. They don't care who it is. They want to send a message, even if they don't know who did it.
That's right. It's that fear. It's just instilling fear. And let me show fear. Let's show, like, you know, and that. How much can you do that for? You know what I mean? Like, and what does that do to the person? You know, what does that do to a person receiving it? You know, I wonder. You know, makes them worse.
Parch, it does. And
makes them worse.
And what does that do? You're, as police, you're not getting cooperation from the normal people in the area anymore. You're pushing them more to the criminal elements, and you're making that whole area just solid, quiet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, nah, this is what's going. You're almost organizing them. You know what I mean? In a way. So it's an interesting. They need to find different ways of policing because it's just not working. I don't know how it's going now, Patch. It might have changed up. I think it might have. You know what I mean? I think it's different now, but only God knows because I'm out here in the suburbs.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a different story. You know, I don't know 100% what's going on with it, but yeah, Patch, man, it's a wild one, man. It's a wild one.
What do you think now with the flats being knocked down?
That's going to be an interesting one, right? Because I got a theory, Patch. I got a theory that it's not going to make things better. I got a feeling that it's going to spread the crime, right? And not because the people in those areas are criminals, but because of the fact that you're moving over 5,000 people in one area. So how much? Paran, North Melbourne, Flemington, Esquivel, Richmond, Collingwood.
All of them they're knocking down.
All of them.
All of them they're knocking down.
All of them. All of them, Patch. So you got like at least.
They're taking away the character of these areas. These are the only areas they gave this character.
Do you know what I mean, Patch?
You just have these bunch of just whatever. You know what I mean?
It's not going to be the same, bro.
That's what gives them character, bro. That's what gives North character, Flemington character. It's these areas, bro. That's what gives them diversity.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, what are you going to have a bunch of rich people, upper middle class rich people walking around?
That's why.
Do you
know what I mean? That's why all of these strips were like, boom. Okay, I can go get Somali food when I'm in Flemington. I can go get some anjera when I'm in North Melbourne. You know what I mean?
It's mad.
It is, man.
That's what's mad about it.
Pard, what's going to happen? You're going to move all of these. So you're going to move collectively around what I'll say 40 to 50,000 in all of the estates.
Yeah.
Where are you going to chuck them? You're going to chuck them in Dandenong, Melton, Broady, Frankston, the lower class areas, right? And then now you're going to have a massive cultural shift in these areas. That's what happened to Chicago, bro. Chicago at a time, it wasn't as violent as it is now, bro. But when they knocked down the housing commission flats in the cities, they all got spread to the suburbs, bro. Yeah. And then it disrupted the existing fabric of those areas. Yeah. And it's just going to create effery, bro. That's my idea. That's what I think.
That's a fair point. Yeah. I think you're right, because if you don't offer them opportunity, you got to have these people give them opportunity, the opportunity through employment and things of that nature. And that's the main thing. What I think most of the time these areas turn bad is because of that. Because Broady's like Detroit, you know. Broady used to have a Ford factory. Broady was built around a working class area, around a Ford factory. You know what I mean? People were living okay at the time, yeah? But then you took away the Ford factory, you just left these people with nothing. And then obviously throughout time it deteriorated because of poverty. Poverty grew, with poverty crime grows. So if you don't offer them anything, then of course, what do you expect from them? You know, like, look at what are the worst areas now? People think it's, you know, it's fucking Shepparton. Yeah, Shepparton, Horsham, you know. There's ice epidemic there through the roof because people have nothing to do.
These country towns, Paj, are just as bad, if not worse, than any inner city area in any city of Melbourne, in Australia. But, Paj, I think it gets overlooked because, look, we got to talk about this as well, Paj, yeah? The left likes to focus on immigrants that needing help. These people are helpless, let's help. They turn around and they don't even want to have a look at the Aussies that are doing it hard.
Oh, yeah, no, Aussies are privileged.
They're privileged, right? Every Aussie is a privilege, you know what I mean? They're all good and they're all balling.
Yeah.
Nah, man. As we know, Paj, in the area I grew up in, the ones that were doing it the hardest were the Aussies.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
All my experiences with all the kids I work with, the hardest by far were the Australian kids, with Australian names, with Australian parents, with fucking Australian heritage, you know?
Straight up, bro. They're the ones that don't, you know what I mean? One of their parents are probably strung out on drugs. They're the ones that are going through issues with having food in the house for you know what I mean? At the end of the night. Like, it's a different, Paj, and it's scary because all right, we want to fix these immigrant kids, yeah? But the fact is they're friends with these Aussie kids. And if you don't help these Aussie kids as well, then it's just going to keep,
what's with this division? It's all about division. This fake left, all they want to promote is division. He's like, oh, we've got to concentrate on this and that. Wait, this is why, for me, it's classism. I'm a socialist and I believe in class. And I think class is the main division of every society. And I think you have more in common with your working class brother, no matter the race, sex, gender. If we are part of the same class, then if they could be the same as you, exactly in every fiber of the DNA. But if they're from an upper class, you're gonna clash with them. You're gonna clash, and you're gonna sit in the room with them, and you're gonna realize that we're not the same.
Absolutely.
You know? And I think that's why they're deviating from getting to that point and to that sort of unity that we got to have, together. They're trying to deviate people and be like, no, you need to concentrate on your own race, or you need to concentrate on your own gender, and you need to so therefore you're divided. So you're dividing all these people, and then when they're divided, they're not going to look at the ruling class and be like, wait a minute, these guys are fucking all of us equally. They're gonna go, no, but this Aussie's privileged, you know what I mean? Or they just didn't use that privilege well. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Or they start nitpicking against one another, and it's like, wait a minute, no. We all in this fucking, yes, there is inequality, there is that sort of thing.
There is racism, there is inequality,
there is
absolutely.
sexism, there is these things that do exist and they're wrong, in every way. But if you just concentrate on these things without adding the class element to it, then you're going to fail to see the bigger picture.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're absolutely right. Because there's a certain power and privilege that comes with a person who's, let's say, if a judge calls me a black cunt, that's horrible, bruv. Things can, they got control of my life, bruv. But if the Aussie in the estate calls me a black cunt, bro, I can just call him a white cunt and do the same thing back to him. There's no power in what he says, bruv. You know what I mean, Paj? So that's one thing that I feel like we need to get over, bruv. Like we need to understand that, yes, I have my culture. My culture is so important to me, and I'm going to champion my culture at all times. And yes, I feel more inclined to hang around with him because he's from a similar culture as me. That's totally fine, bro. But the moment we start separating somebody over here that's doing it just as hard as me, or if not worse, just because of how he looks, bruv, it's a slippery slope, bro. It becomes a slippery slope, you know what I mean? And it's a tough one, bro. It's a tough one. But Paj, when it comes to socialism, one thing that I've got, I got this, like, what happens, Paj, if somebody starts making some money, they grew up poor or working class, and then they start making some money? How do you think that they automatically change and the system gets control of them? Or can they still be down with the working class if they're not a part of it?
Depends how principled they are.
Okay.
Depends how much knowledge they have and education they have, and to see whether so I always thought about this as well, because I think, money changes you, class changes you, you view things differently. If you're working class, you're oppressed, you're exploited. So you have every interest to change the world. If you go move up the classes, you have more privileges, you can afford different things, so therefore, why do you want to change the world then, And if you get a billionaire, then it works perfectly for you, brother.
Yeah.
The system is perfect for you, But if we look at just ourselves independently as individuals, you know what I mean? But at the same time, this system is leading us towards World War III. You know what I mean? So the fact of the matter is, this billionaire competition all around the world under capitalism, under this business model that we have in our current society, is setting different capitalists against one another, and therefore they go back to their nation state and they say, this motherfucker's not letting me do business with him. Therefore we need to bomb this country, you know what I mean? And then America gets involved and says, oh, well, now Iran, you have to give up your fucking oil reserves or whatever. And then Iran says, no, there you go. And then we're going to get Israel to bomb you or whatever. So it's all connected. And then that's how it starts. That's why war, America's gone through an economic decline. After World War II, America had 50% of the world's GDP. That's how much of the gross domestic product they produced to the world. They were a big power. They were imperialist power. There was no competition between them, because after World War II, Europe was devastated. Asia, they dropped the fucking atomic bomb on Japan, on Hiroshima. So that part of the continent was devastated, and then they introduced the factory motor production. So they were the most advanced country, and they knew it was under most advanced part of capitalism that they could thrive. But then over time, that has declined. Over decades, it has declined. Now America only produces 15% of world GDP. That's that they've gone down more than 3 times. More than 3 times their power, but they're still investing more money now in their military than they ever did before. So that shows you there's an investment in military, there's a decline in business. So what does that say?
Yeah.
War.
Hey, I'm gonna be real, Pudge, yeah? And we've seen this in smaller scale in the area, right? The quicker someone's declining, the more violent they really get, right? We've seen that, right? That's just the way things go. And when there's a new player in the game, you're right, bro.
You have to have violence. Now the new player comes in the game. That's fucking brilliant. New player comes in the game. You're declining. What are you going to do? You have nothing. You can't compete with them economically. So what are you going to do? You're going to have to go and take care of business. You know what I mean?
You got to go to war.
It's just personal business, no? In order for you to remain in power. And that's the way the system is designed. So America, to retain their power, their global dominance, they're going to need to now steal the resources of Middle East. You know, they need to get Russia. They need to, to get.
Pudge, can we? Look, I want to talk about Middle East. Yeah.
Well, let's do it.
Let's do it. Right? we know Israel, right? We know the situation with Israel. Yeah. We know the situation with Palestine. Yeah. And we're 100% free Palestine. We need them to be. We need them to be free. Then 100%. But Pudge, I've got an issue with a lot of these Arab countries, bro. Yeah, you've got these Arab countries, right, where when Yemen was started to bombard in the Red Sea, making sure that nothing was going through, you had Saudi and UAE open up their doors, allow Israel to push their things through their country, right? We also know that before time, when Israel was forming, there was Arab countries who were in control of that territory, and they didn't want to give the Palestinians their independence to probably counter what Israel were about to do, right? So my thing is, how do these guys remain unscathed in this situation, bro? How are we not pointing the finger at them and be like, what are you guys doing, bro? You know what I mean? How do we feel about that, Pudge?
Well, once again, I think it goes back to class. You know, these ruling classes of Saudi Arabia, of Egypt, of Jordan, I think, UAE, you know what, they're doing business with US and Israel behind the scenes. They have been doing business already. So it's business at the end of the day. So they're going to continue to do business, to prosper, and to get a piece of the pie. To get a piece of the pie off the Middle East. The share of the oil will go to them as well. The share of the spoils after destruction of the people and of the area will go to them. You know, if the America and Israel go to war with Iran, after that, UAE and they'll be in a better position if America and Israel win. You know, that war, but it's based on that. So their spoils will go to them. So therefore, they don't care if genocide is occurring. They do it blind. They can appear to be blind because it doesn't matter. They're poor people dying.
Pudge, it's like that dude in the area. Like we'll go back to the micro level. That dude in the area that sees some shit going on and thinks that he can exploit it. So he'll just take a step back. Once everything's done, I'll just come in and do my thing.
I'll come in and do my thing.
Absolutely.
I'm sharing the spoils.
Doesn't matter if this guy looks like me or not. Let him go, that's bro. Right. It is what it is.
Same in Russia. They want to desecrate Russia. They want to they want to go desecrate Russia, and so that all the NATO powers that are supporting it, they're going to get share of the spoils.
Pudge, what number are we at now with the Ukrainians? The amount of Ukrainians that have passed away?
It's some crazy, man. Like these statistics are like 600,000 of Ukrainian deaths, like 100,000 plus Russian deaths. You know, this is all within 2 years. Like it's unbelievable.
And these are all people who are culturally almost the same, bro.
It's the same. Similar to fucking my people, you know what I mean? Like Serbs, Croats, and Bosnians going to war with each other. They're the same fucking people, you know what I mean? Like you just destroyed each other over the interests of US and NATO. Same thing, bro.
Exactly.
Same thing. It doesn't change. Change. They were lying then, they're lying now. You know what I mean? Their interest, they had interest, economic interest then, they have economic interest now. That's what it comes down to.
And also, Pudge, just to let people know, we got no dog in the fight, but at the same time, imagine if Russia decided to put a military base in Mexico. Yeah, and said that this is where they're going to launch from. Then they get parts of Texas to start fighting against America. Yeah. What is America going to do, bro? You know what I mean? Like, it's a crazy situation.
It's a crazy situation, and exactly right. So much hypocrisy is going on out there, you know? So much hypocrisy in the Western media and in all these ruling circles where they're just, one thing applies to them, the other applies to someone else. This person is evil now, but this person is good. Putin is evil, Netanyahu is great. Come on, brother. You know what? I'm not for Putin. You know what I mean? I'm not. I'm a social. I'm for the working class people of Russia, same as Ukraine. You know what I mean? I think I love them equally, and I think their interests are not in line with Zelensky. Definitely not with Zelensky, bro. Definitely not in line with Zelensky, and not with Putin either. Putin just wants to exploit his own working class and be left alone. You know what I mean? So he wants to just go, okay, let West leave me alone. He's not going to overtake Europe. That's not the plan. They're making it seem like he wants to overtake Europe and do... No, they just want to be left alone to exploit their own workers there. You know, so I think Yeah, I think that's what's happening, you know. So at the end of the day, what was I fucking saying?
Well, we were talking about, well, no, at the end of the day, like the fact that Russians are just trying to do their own thing, bruv. You know what I mean? And yeah, look, like you said, they're exploiting, they're doing what they're doing to their people, but at the same time, they're not crossing over anybody's border and doing anything to anybody else.
No, bro, they're not America. You know what I mean? They don't have. They're not American, cousin, man. They don't have bases all across the world, bro. They don't have world military bases everywhere in every fucking sector. In Australia, bro, Northern Territory, we got how many bases, man? Now we signed a contract to buy billions of dollars worth of submarines. Who's going to attack us, brother? Who's attacking Australia? Is Papua New Guinea going to come over? Indonesia?
They're going to come over with their 10 rifles, brother.
Yeah, what are they going to do? We need submarines to
100% fact. 100%
New Zealand,
fact.
Tasmania, like who's...
No, you're absolutely correct, man. Like all we need to do literally is, we got to pivot our mentality, Parch, because the fact is that China is okay with dealing with Australia, bruv. It's just Australia decides to be America's lapdog at all times, bro.
That's
you know
right.
what I mean?
They signed a new pact with AUKUS, UK, AUKUS Australia, UK and America. So that's the problem, you know. They're militarily, they're with America. So they're like a lapdog, you know, and that's the problem. And that's what's going to bleed us eventually to war with fucking China. If America goes to war with China, it's going to be over Australian backs.
It's going to be over Australian backs. That's exactly what it's going to be. It's going to be on our it's going to be on our shores, bro.
That's right. America's smart. Think about it. You kick back, you give money to Ukraine. They go to war with Russia. Europe amounts to Europe going to massive war. You kick back. You go to war with China, you go over Australian backs. You go to war with Iran over Israeli and Middle East. So you can kick back, you like that sort of, you know,
the overlord, bro. Yeah,
the overlord, just watching and starting little fires everywhere and being like, you're sweet, you're making money. You're sitting back making money of all of it, you know?
It's wild.
And people are still not realizing that. They're still looking at the United States as this as this democracy that's aiming to, you know, spread peace.
Patch, I blame, look, but let's be real, yeah? America has a lot of this soft power, right? And a lot of their rule, yes, they're military strong, but a lot of their rule comes from having the NBA, having NFL, hip hop. Their fast food, like this is where majority of their power it is, right? It gives us sympathy for them.
Because the ruling, even in any society, the ruling countries could influence their culture. We don't have that, so we can't influence our culture because they have the funds, they have the money to push their culture onto us, to push their art and culture and to deceive us and to push their propaganda for us to fall for it. And people are falling for it, especially in the West. You have this conversation in the West. We might be looked at as extremists.
Yeah.
Or you know,
the conspiracy theorists.
Conspiracy theorists,
yeah.
Right, that's not really what's going on. You know, some
what's wrong with these
might
cunts,
be watching these going like, nah, but these guys are cooked. You know what I mean? Like, this is not what's happening. But really, this is the facts, and this is the reality. There's no conspiracy in this. You know, you can check it out yourself. Anyone out there, check it out yourself. You know what I mean? All you got to do is research little conflicts, look at the history, because that's one thing that's always missed in any conflict that's been observed is historical element to it. And you see the history and see what happened, you know, throughout the time. But then you see why you arrived at the place you arrived today. You know, the conflict in Palestine didn't start on October 7th, you know, of last year. It started in 1948. Exactly. Bro, and it's not a coincidence that 1948 started. That's the same time about Pakistan and India got partitioned as well. It's, and we all know what happened when Pakistan and India, the partition happened, right? It's like, because you're a Muslim, you had all of these Muslims running to Pakistan, and then you had all of the Hindus running to India. These people don't know where they're going, bro. It's like, that's their homeland, bro. It's been their homeland for the longest. But then these Brits, as they left, they were able to sow a bit of seeds to, you know, disillusion, this and that. Because let's be real now, if Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, all of this remained one country, it'll be a country of almost 2 something billion, bro. It'll be extremely powerful economically, bro. Yeah, and they said, listen, let's put a fork in this road, let's break them up over here, let's break them up over there. To the point where Pakistan and India hate each other, but a Pakistani's great-grandfather would be Indian. They were born in India. You know what I mean, Raj, bro? You get what I'm saying? It's the same exact formula, man. Divide and conquer, you know? 100%. You can't have threats, anything that's a threat. Same what they did to Yugoslavia, man.
Yeah.
Yugoslavia served as a buffer state between American imperialism and Russian Soviet Union when they were in the Cold War. So because Tito, which was the leader of Yugoslavia at the time, said "niet," which means no to Stalin, that Stalin wanted to expand Yugoslavia to join the Soviet Union. He said "niet," because Tito was getting money from America, and he was getting money from Soviet Union.
Playing both sides, I like that. You got it, bro.
You know, he's wearing white suits, he's playing both sides, like he's pretending to be for the people, all this sort of shit. Yeah. So anyway, so people are still disillusioned. They think Tito was the greatest thing ever. You know what? Yeah, he was the greatest thing because he was, you know, playing both sides. You know, but anyway, so then it disintegrated. So in the 80s, after Tito's death, in the 80s, in Yugoslavia, they start going to protests against the government all together. All the Yugoslavians, Croatians, Bosnians, Serbs, Slovenians, they're all together going against the government. Right? So this was the protest back in the day, how it started. They weren't divided at all. And then America and US and NATO, Germany and US, they offer Slovenia and Croatia bugs to say, we want you to break away from Yugoslavia after the Soviet Union collapsed in 91. 91, Soviet Union collapses. 91, the war in Yugoslavia starts.
What a coincidence.
What a coincidence. Behind the scenes, Soviet Union now collapsed. It's not a threat anymore. Yugoslavia, third largest army in the world. It's a threat. So how do we disband Yugoslavia? Let's go to the independence seeking of Croatia. Let's go to those seeking independence Slovenia. Let's sell them this idea that they're going to be better off under capitalism to join us and tear apart Yugoslavia. So behind the scenes, that's what they did. They exploit ethnic tensions. Boom. Start a war. They turn against one another. You know what? They exploit religious tensions. They exploit.
Of course.
People are blinded.
Yeah, man.
They have this anger about what's happening because economically there's economic downfall. They turn against one another, results in this disgusting war. You know what I mean? And no one's better off after it.
And when neighbors go to war or family members go to war, they're the worst type of wars,
That's
bro.
right.
Because it's like everyone knows where each other lives. Everyone knows each other's weakness and strength. It's dangerous. It becomes extremely dangerous.
It was extremely dangerous. It was extremely horrible, and you know. But you know, now hopefully people are seeing through the other end because you still got these, you know, weird government officials in all these countries. You know what I mean? That are very nationalistic, very proud, and
you get that everywhere, bro.
You get that everywhere. So still, they're trying to divide the people, but I think the younger generation is getting smarter and they're seeing through it and saying like, "Hey, man, why would we go to war with each other? Why, you know?" Which is, I hope that's the path to take because there's nothing to be gained from, you know, from separation, bro. From separation, you know what I mean?
Absolutely
from independence and separation and all these things are like, what are you gaining from?
Yeah, what are we gaining,
Unity, bro? Man, unity. We need to go towards more because they're dividing us all the time,
bro. Yeah. It's just the way of the world. But Paj, more people like you, more thoughts like that. That's the only way we're gonna get out of this, bro. The more conversation we have, the more we can push it, man. You know what I mean? I freaking appreciate you, man. My brother, bro. We've been through a lot growing up. We couldn't mention all of the stories that we've been through, you know what I mean? But I want you back on, bro. You know what I mean? We'll have this conversation again. We'll have different conversations, man, and we'll push it. But I really appreciate you, man. Really appreciate you coming on, man.
Thank you, my brother.
Thank you, my brother, man. Paj, you're a legend, bro.
You're a legend too, brother.
Another episode. Bang.